hard to think of your own life as an adventure, but I am having a good time. I started out as a television reporter and worked in western Nebraska at a tiny little station that at one point had an infestation of snakes, which was lovely and surprising. And I did everything there. I did news, weather, sports, reported. I learned all of the states while doing weather. And then I worked in Charleston, West Virginia for a while. And that's where I met my husband, who's actually from Detroit. And then from there I went to Omaha. And we've been there ever since. And I worked at the ABC affiliate for years until I decided I wanted to write. And initially I just wanted to see if I could write a book, if I could finish a book. And then when I did, I wanted to see if I could sell a book. And I've been selling books ever since. And I love it. I love living, I love making up stories. It's so much more fun than real life. I can make sure the bad guy gets what he deserves and the good guy gets the reward. Or the heroine gets the good guy. I can make sure that all that happens, and that doesn't happen in real life. I think having been a reporter and going into fiction from there, to me it was a huge benefit for a couple of reasons. Number one, I know what makes a good story. I know what makes good dialogue. There were any number of times as a news reporter I would think this would be so much better if they had only said. I can do that in fiction. It also gave me a lot of experiences to draw on. I know how I've seen people at the very best times of their lives and the very worst times of their lives. I've had experiences that I've been able to incorporate in books. Things like I've ridden an elephant and been up in a hot air balloon, and I once took part in a fire department's media fire school where they dressed us up like firefighters and put us into a burning building. And I've actually used that a couple of times because I know what it's like now to be in a burning building. I think both probably the biggest benefit though is seeing how people react. So I'm grateful for it. I think it's great training for fiction. I think my number one advice to a new author or anyone who isn't published yet is not to give up, because in theory, with every book you write you get better. With every book you write you learn more. But I think persistence in trying to do what you want to do, in achieving what you want. I think also that for a new author you have to realize that, well, these words were like giving birth. They're not sacred, and that editors and publishers, they don't want to destroy your work. They want to make it better. And the goal of everyone, we're all in this together, and the goal of everyone is to sell your book. So I think people, especially new authors, get a little sensitive when, you know, they have a fabulous title and a publisher and editor goes, not so much. You know, you have to let that stuff go, and you just have to keep in mind that they want to be successful. They want you to be successful, and they want to be successful. So I think maybe be a little less sensitive, not be quite so protective of your. I mean, you have to be protective of your work, but to realize that suggestions are just to make things better, and just to sell more books, which is what you want to do, because it doesn't do me any good if I write a fabulous book and nobody reads it. I write what I tend to think of as historical romantic comedy. Mostly I write historicals, and I much prefer humor. I would much prefer to make someone laugh than to make them cry. And I think that goes back to my news background, because I did way too many stories that made people cry. Way too many stories where there was no way was there a happy ending. And now, because I do have control over all that, I want a happy ending. I want people to laugh, and I do want, if there's tragedy, I want people to overcome it. I really, on occasion, I'll make people cry, and that's kind of fun. And on occasion, I'll kill people off, which is also kind of fun. But mostly, I want people to get done with my books, and I want them to smile. I want them to have had a good time. My most recent book is The Perfect Mistress. It's the story of a woman who inherits her great-grandmother's scandalous memoirs and decides to sell them. And the gentlemen who want that book, and ultimately the heroine. Next up is His Mistress by Christmas. It's my first Christmas book, and it is about one of the friends of the heroine in The Perfect Mistress. She is a widow, and she'd like to be a mistress. She has no desire to marry again. Our hero, on the other hand, wants a wife.